And we are live. It's your favorite insurance agent, Darnold Jr. This is FinLit Live. This is the show where we talk about personal finances and we get your questions answered. And if you ever had an inkling, a little bit of inkling that you wanted to start your own business, this is the show to watch because we are going to talk about the challenges and how to overcome the challenges of starting your own business, because that's the joy. Is face it, most businesses fail within the first 3 years. And so we don't want to have you be that failure. So we're going to give you some tips and tricks on how to do that. So let's go ahead without any further ado and get lit. All right, so I am here with my friend and colleague, Dr. Rodriguez.
Hey,
Doctor, how's it going?
hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Thank you. I appreciate you for taking time out your busy, crazy schedule, momming it up and running your own business to be on the
Yes,
show. And
it is.
so go ahead and introduce yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? And what are you up to?
So, my name is Dr. Melissa Rodriguez Sheptrine. I'm from Houston, Texas, born and raised, and I'm a chiropractor. I started practicing chiropractic in 2015, and then I associated for probably like good 5 years, and then I just started my business 2 years ago. So, um, it's been a ride of my
So
life.
you're still in the thick of it right now, huh?
Yes, yes, yes. I think the best thing I can describe is just grit. Like you just have to just nose to the grind and go, go, go. Whatever
Yes,
comes your way, you just have to figure it out. I think that's life.
absolutely. I always tell people problems are guaranteed, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
10% of what happens to you and 90% how you respond. But before we give tips and tricks on how to like overcome challenges of starting your business, let's kind of hear your story. Like, what's your backstory? How did you end up becoming a chiropractor? What inspired you to go into that industry?
Okay, so honestly, I feel like I've talked to so many chiropractors about this particular question, and I feel like chiropractic chooses you because essentially, and when I was going to undergrad, I had this passion about serving, about helping people, and so I decided I wanted to do like physical therapy or a physiatrist. So I just kind of didn't really know what to do, but then I got injured, and I saw a chiropractor, and it was amazing because just the way he did it without any kind of medication, I was really on board with that. I've always been extremely holistic. My mom basically cured us with home remedies and yerberias, and you know, so that just kind of was like made sense to me. And so when I went to the chiropractor, I had a herniated disc because I actually I weight train a lot. I've always done that. And so I remember I was having drop foot. And so I kind of was dragging into the into his office, and shortly, like maybe 2 or 3 sessions, I was able to go back to my daily routine and started working out again because, of course, all people who work out are athletes. They're like, when can I start working out? So that was just me, and that just kind of shifted my gear from physical therapy to chiropractic. And I went to Texas Chiropractic College, and it was like the worst experience ever. I didn't know how much to learn about the body itself, and then on top of that, your adjustment skills. So it's kind of like going to karate school. You don't know what you're doing. It looks cool, and they make it look so easy, and then you find out you're like, oh my god. I had moments where like I feel like I suck. I don't know if I'm gonna do this. but and then the schooling was like 24. The first semester I remember was like 24 hours. Okay. And then on top of that, like trying to live your life, your social life, and like if you have a job, which was not going to happen. I stayed at home, and thankfully I was maybe about 20 minutes away from the school, so I was very grateful that I was still living with mom and dad. and suffering through chiropractic school. So there's 4 parts of national boards, and they're very extensive, very very tough. It drains you because I remember the last part of the boards was the practical, and so they have you like in like rooms of like 13 or 14 different rooms where you come in and they'll like give you an x-ray and here are their symptoms and you're doing your performing all your orthopedic examinations and you're kind of asking questions like you would like it's a mock visit, and then immediately you after you get out of the door there's a computer right in front of you. It's like diagnose what's your treatment, what's the vitamins that they're gonna prescribe, and is this an emergency situation or how are you gonna adjust, or is it a good patient to adjust or not. And so it was just very nerve-wracking. And so I remember that day I was like, oh my god, I'm so drained. But it was a lot of fun. I established so many good um, lifelong friendships. I met my best friend Shannon, and the thing about chiropractic is um, there's a niche to it as well. It's like my best friend is now like a nutritionist guru. She's on YouTube all the time with Wellness Way, and I don't really very comfortable with nutrition because it's like an enigma. Everybody's right, everyone's wrong. I don't know. There's so many studies now that refute your narrative sometimes. So sometimes I'm like, that's not my passion. But I do love when patients come in and they're open minded to the holistic approach of medicine. Not we're contradicting Western medicine, but sometimes they have exhausted that and they've seen the neuro, they've seen the MD, they've been prescribed all kinds of medications and they're drugged out and they're like, what, I mean, I'm coming to you because you're my last hope. And then whenever I see them, I love on them and they're like super happy. I should have came to you first. And I was so scared. I always get the people who are extremely scared about chiropractic care. And then they come in, they're like, please don't kill me. Like, no, I'm not Steven Seagal. I swear. I've been doing this forever, a long time. And it's so interesting how you develop your skills to find where that misalignment is, and to adjust it and let the body heal itself. That's the main goal of chiropractic care is let the body heal itself. We're just facilitating that, and I love it. I love it.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you started off with association and a partnership, and obviously that dissolved, and so you decided to go out all on your own.
All on my own.
All on your own. And so there's some challenges of definitely starting your own business and being a solopreneur. And so, like, what are some of the biggest challenges that you feel like you've experienced, and some things you know now that you wish you would have known 2 years ago when you first started your practice?
Okay, so essentially I kind of took a chance during COVID, and the rental spaces around me were very affordable. So I went on it. That was for me, that was like key to getting on board with being my own, starting on my own. And there's no like really written book on it. Unfortunately, everybody is different when it comes to opening their own business. I would essentially say if you're already thinking about owning your own business, you already have a passion, you already are good at what you do. So those years, I needed them to first gain confidence and ability to provide that service, whether it be, there's so many different kinds of services. But I've read somewhere one time where chiropractors and restaurants are kind of neck and neck, and like the worst the fastest ones to close the doors after years. Yes.
Wow.
And that was very disheartening because I was like, no, I love this profession. But really, essentially, being a chiropractor, you actually have to educate your patient in order for them to understand the value of what they're getting. So you essentially, in McDonald's, for example, it's a franchise. And so the customer comes in with an expectation of it being exactly the same. and there's not really, they kind of already know what they want. They're already, it's like a certainty. And so with chiropractic care, there is no really certainty. You're kind of just going at it and trying the service to see if it works. So it is, essentially my job to make sure that we're also essentially not salespeople, but we're educating people on the importance of chiropractic care. So
Right.
that's why a lot of chiropractic businesses, I feel like, don't last as long, because you can be the best adjuster in your town, but if you don't have that I essentially that skill of educating your patients, they're just going to come in and they're just going to walk out the door. They're going to be like, well, that really didn't work out for me, or you know I really didn't really quite understand the steps of what she was trying to say. So the best thing to do is come out forward, essentially think about it like, you have your body, right? And it's I always compare it to a car. You hate going into the shop and them saying, well, this is going to cost this much, and then later on you get it done, but then, oh, we found this, that it. So essentially people start mistrust that person
Mm.
who is kind of essentially, oh, now what. So transparency is the biggest thing,
Mm.
whenever you're coming into service, and that's any kind of service. You don't want to go to the dentist, and then find out that you just had a filling, but then later on, 2 3 visits later, or that next visit, now you have something else coming on. You're kind of like a little bit more skeptical. So you really want to know your skill. If it
Mm.
is a service, you have to know your skill, be confident in that, because whenever you go into business, there's so many other things that are going to come your way, like, repairs in your office, the staff, like, as far as being your own boss, that's going to be your first time being a boss over somebody. And sometimes, you have your expectation of, I'm putting 100% in this business, and unfortunately you are going to be the only one doing that. Your employees, if you treat them well, they're going to treat your patients well, or your customers well. That a lot of times we're always focused on the customer and their satisfaction, but as far as I've seen firsthand, if you take care of your patients or your staff, if you take care of your employees, they're going to essentially take care of your customers and be positive and come in with a great environment and great attitude. A lot of office, essentially drama, you got to come in and nip it in the butt, because essentially the atmosphere changes, and that kind of also leads to further dysfunction later on. So you always have to be involved in day-to-day activities. And then the number two thing is always hire for the things that you can put people to do tasks. In
Mm.
essentially the beginning, I thought, okay, I have to be my front desk because I can't afford a front desk. I have to do everything because I can only afford this much, and I didn't have much overhead. I think that's just an erroneous thing. You really, whenever you want to start your business and maybe like open somewhere, you have to have help. You
Yeah.
have to have it in the budget, because you can only do so much. And if you want to be great at what you do and get that referrals, you want to make sure that your time and energy and focus is doing what you love to do, and have the little minuscule task of, and have that kind of shift to somebody else doing it. And it helps tremendously with I if once I hired my front desk, my patients came up to at least 10 to 20 times more than if I was just doing it myself.
Mm. That's
I
huge.
get huge, and that stress,
Mhm.
the stress also was alleviated because I had help. And so it is, I feel like you just have to put that in your overhead. A lot of the stuff that I had was secondhand. Obviously there's some purchases where you have to buy brand new, but take it in steps. That's what I did, and I don't have any debt when it comes to
Nice.
operating off equipment, because I was smart enough, you know what, we're going to Facebook Market to find whatever, office that I can, and then upgrade later. So I have like a display, really nice display. I bought it off a dentist. I went over there, $100. It looks super nice in the office. And essentially later, whenever you have it in your budget, because you have to get a good CPA to tell you whenever you're moving on to that next level. So
For sure.
my second thing that I would advise people is to have a mentor. A mentor is extremely important in
Absolutely.
success. I feel like a team is better than you just figuring it out in your head. I had a great mentor, Dr. Zichterman. I associated with him, and he was always trying to push me out the door. Like, come on, spread your wings and fly. But essentially, again, you want to you. The third thing that I would like to note is don't burn bridges.
Mm,
You have to keep your rapport despite whatever happens in collaborating with different individuals. Obviously, you're not going to see eye to eye on everything, but there's always a way to conduct yourself in business than you would with your family, than you would with anybody else, because you never know who knows who. So all I'll say, just to say that is that connections that you make are extremely important in your success. So networking events, I go to those because I meet new people despite the fact that maybe they're not associated with chiropractic, but maybe they know somebody. So
mhm.
that's a referral to me. So just getting out in the community and talking to people and going to different businesses and introducing yourself, that's really how I got myself started. A lot of word of mouth. Again, those first patients or clients or customers, they're the ones that are going to say, hey, you know what, Dr. Rodriguez is great, you need to check her out. Or so and so down the road has great service, great food, great product. Like the first essential 3, 4, 5, 6 months is just you pouring into your business and making sure you have excellent care, excellent service. You have a smile on your face. You are the one that's going to be the face of your company, but you also want to make a good impression and shake their hands, first name basis. They love that. Small talk is the best way to open bridges, open connections, and get that. My patients love me not because I'm such a great adjuster. I think they get good care, but also because I take the time to get to know my patients.
Mm.
I know them on a personal level. I follow up with them. Like, how's your kiddos doing? How did they do in volleyball practice? Or, you know, and essentially, we start talking, and then all of a sudden, hey, you know what? I think I have a friend that needs care, and I was talking to her about you. And I'm like, well, great, thank you so much. And then taking care of your patients or your customers and making them feel like your family, but also they love not essentially free stuff, but they like being appreciated. So
Mm.
so even if you can have like something small, like like a day where your members or your customers get some type of discount, or cookies, or like little things around the office that it will show appreciation to your current customers or your patients, is going to go a long way. I never skip out on my beverages, because one, that's a write off. I always have the water in the office, fully stacked,
Nice.
just that you can make those little things that make a huge difference. I have a coffee bar, and I do DOT physicals, and after the DOT physical, they're so happy to get the chocolate and their coffee. So I have that stocked, and that's something that, you know what, I want to go there because they treated me very well. Concentra is a huge company, but I'm just going a little bit the distance just to make those connections brings them coming back into the office or to your store. So
That's
I think
awesome.
I think that's extremely important.
So it's all about the details, all about the little things, and showing that you care about your clients and your patients. And so
Yes,
that's awesome.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, one of the things you hit on earlier was the fact that delegating responsibilities that are essential but non-essential to you because you're the business owner. And one of the principles I heard before is the 80-20 principle. Like 80% of results come from 20% of the things you do, right? And the people that are hyper producers, they actually focus just solely on that 20% activity. In other words, we call it income producing activities, right? And they delegate the other 80%. So, like for instance, if you have a home, you have to worry about yard maintenance, you have to worry about cooking, you have to worry about cleaning and laundry. Like hyper producers, what they do is they delegate all that responsibility out. That way they can focus on the things that are strictly bringing them money into their business. And so that's a big um, tip and a big pointer for a lot of people that are beginning, because like you might be nervous to delegate it out. It's like, okay, I don't know if I have the money for this to be able to have a front desk person or to hire a yard man or whatnot, but you can't afford not to do it, because that way you can focus on the things that are strictly bringing money into your business. So um,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I attest to that. Like I was in that spot of like, how am I going to pay this person? But you will see the difference of whenever you stop focusing on how to pay instead of how am I going to get this person on board and what am I going to do, to have her also generate income. She can be doing your web, social media. She can do stuff as far as marketing, your business, and making giving that extra step to customers when they come in, or clients or patients whenever they come in, to make that difference that you may not.
absolutely, nothing happens without sales and marketing, right? Like no
Absolutely. And
business exists. So, and then to your point too, networking is huge. And I think honestly, that's how we met, right?
hmm
Is through networking. And we found out we graduated from the same school, Go North Shore. What? And so, but if we weren't out in the community networking, meeting people, then you wouldn't even have the opportunity to be on the show because I wouldn't have known you.
Absolutely.
So look at that. Networking works, right? It only works if you do. And
Absolutely.
the key to networking is follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. The fortune is in the follow up. Like if you meet people one time and then you never ever reach out to them or build a relationship outside the networking group, then might as well you just wasted your time. And so, and the problem with networking is a lot of times people go to sell something, like they sell their product or service, which is fine. That's why everybody's there. But the reality is, most people in a networking setting isn't there to buy anything, right? We had a show about networking. We had Pablo Viejo. Go ahead and check out that episode. He is the godfather of networking, and he gave a phenomenal tip on that show that I still carry to this day. He's like, yeah, everybody's there to sell something. And then he asked the room, how many people are here to buy something? And only like one person raised their hand out of the 80 people that were there.
Absolutely.
And so if you flip networking to, okay, I'm not here to sell you something, I'm here to provide value for you. Literally, people will flock to you at the end of the networking event, like, oh, how can I be a part of that? Or how can I get more information about that? Because you're providing them value, but you're not necessarily there to sell them something. And then that establishes the relationship and over the long run. And those are the ones that call you and reach out to you. And it gets really fun if you do networking the right way.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I learned a whole lot of marketing. I did a lot of like walks where kind of not cold calls, but I would go to offices and kind of like, hey, do you have some time to, you know, give you my little spiel on what I do in my businesses and see how we can help you. And I feel like the best responses that I would get would be what you're saying is kind of like, how can I help you? In this area that maybe you're not having a good service with some other provider, or that you don't have this in your office that might help you generate more revenue. Essentially, people like to also be benefit from your relation. So that's 100% true. And I feel like sometimes marketing events, you feel like I'm going to this again, and or I don't want to go because I feel like I'm working. You have to put on your hat of professionalism, and I'm not at all. I'm very laid back. Sometimes what I would do to remember them and then have them remember me is I would take a picture with them, and then I
Mm.
would say, hey, can we take a picture and I'll send it to you tomorrow, and then maybe we can, follow up, and that way they will remember me because sometimes they see so many people and they just don't remember you unless you're really good at marketing. Sometimes like, oh yeah, 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 I remember you. They'll come to your office, and I've had I've had some people come in, for the adjustment, or uh, typically, like, I think I've had like a politician come in one time to drop off because I was like, you can bring your stuff. I didn't even know what he was for, but I was like, you can bring your stuff, and I'll help you out. I'll help you market your. I think he was a judge of some sort, or. But
Nice.
anyways, it just like you said, connections. You never know who you're going to meet at any type of marketing event. Is a great opportunity to shine and to be, uh, you know, t- I think it's so hard because for me at least, because sometimes I have to go out there, and because I'm just starting to establish my brand.
Mhm.
So I feel like it's later on, I would love to delegate that portion, to somebody else. But it's essentially really hard because people really don't know you and what you do. And so once they kind of know you, and they've seen you've been established for quite some time, then all those things can be delegated later. But there's some stuff that you still have to do, you know, your footwork.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you for being on the show. If somebody would like to get adjusted or would like more tips and pointers on running their own business, how can they get a hold of you?
Okay, so my office number is 346-606-1888. And then we're located at 4335 East Sam Houston Parkway North, Houston, Texas 77015. And if you're in Channelview, I'm right next to Wolf's Burgers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has a nice intimate little office, which is great. So you get a lot of privacy, which is great. And
Yes.
then Melissa's great. So if you ever need to be adjusted, if you know somebody that needs a DOT physical or anything along those lines, send her way and she'll take care of them.
Yes. Any questions? I love to help anybody that needs help, regardless of their situation. And that's what I love to do is serve. I think that's my favorite thing to do.
Excellent. Well, you served us and you dropped a lot of great nuggets on our show. And I know somebody that's starting a small business, they'll definitely appreciate the advice you gave. Delegating, making sure you network, make sure you get your name out there, and just keep going. Like that's all it's about. Like if you don't quit, you win, right?
That's right. Oh, there's a lot of times where like I'm done. I'm gonna put up my close sign, but it really is extremely hard, and you have to have that mindset of just keep going, and because business is always up and down. Whenever you and essentially if you can make yourself, you have to ask for help, but as far as financially speaking, if you're able to live with somebody and you're not solely providing on your income, that helps tremendously. If you have, if you're married and your spouse, be ready for not getting paid for about a year or 2 years down the line. It's just the way it is. You're pouring so much into the money that you're making is going right back into the business. So even if it's like a small business loan that you can, there's some loans out there for small business owners that want to do startups, and that's through the Small Business Administration, I believe. Also,
SBA,
reach out to there's some people that do like
like score.
smart, yeah, exactly. And they're just people who want to invest in some small businesses, that they'll do like angel business. They're kind
Yeah,
of
angel investors.
right. And so all those things you kind of want to look into and do your homework. Mhm.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you for being on the show. Definitely hang out in the lobby and we'll wrap up the show here.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. All right. So if you got any value, go ahead and smash that like button. Share this with your friends that want to start a small business because I think they are going to get a lot of value. Dr. Rodriguez did an amazing job. And so if you are on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube station. We are almost at 500 subscribers. We're right there. So you might be the 500th subscriber, and we are going to celebrate big once we hit it. Super excited. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. We have the show every Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I appreciate you guys for tuning in and getting lit.